So you're thinking of buying or selling in a Tampa luxury condo community? In this video, I am going to share why you should not buy a condo unless you know these three things. You won't want to miss any of it. Let's get started right away. If this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything about buying or selling in a Tampa luxury condo community, then subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the Tampa luxury condo market and lifestyle. My name is Nathaniel Ligon, the Tampa Condo King. I specialize in representing luxury condo owners and buyers in Tampa, Florida. I get calls every day from people just like you, so whether you're looking to buy or sell in 10 days or 10 weeks, please reach out. All of my contact information is in the description box below. I would love to help you win in the Tampa luxury condo market. Now let's take a closer look at why you should not buy a condo unless you know these three things. The first item that we'll discuss that you really need to have a good understanding of prior to buying a condo is the financial picture. So you'll want to make sure you have a really good understanding of this. It is unique and could be a lot different than what you're accustomed to depending on what your current and previous living situation has been. So if you owned a single family home, for example, it's definitely going to be different. If you're a renter, certainly it's going to be different. And even if you have experience in the condo market, whether it's outside of Florida or even here in Florida, things change over time. So you want to make sure you have a good up-to-date knowledge of what's going on and what the overall financial picture looks like. So there are many reasons why buyers like to purchase condos, and it really is all about buying and investing in a lifestyle, not just your particular unit and your particular home. So what I mean by that is depending on the community that you want to buy in, depending on its size and its price point, and also the year it was built, that will affect what amenities and services are at that particular community. So some of the more newer and luxurious communities have amenities such as a fitness center and potentially a pool or multiple pools on site, maybe a massage room, club room, maybe a bar, maybe even a pickleball or tennis court. So there are a lot of amenities that you'll have access to as a resident, and certainly that will come at a cost in addition to maybe a security 24/7 or concierge that also plays into it as well. And then each community might have, water, sewer, trash included. So it just depends again on each particular community, but you'll want to make sure you understand the services and the amenities that you have access to and what's included and what that cost comes out to be. So really important to understand that. Whether you're a cash buyer, of course, you'll just want to know, or if you're financing, you and the lender will also want to make sure you're on the same page. So as you're crunching numbers and determining what your purchasing power is and what you're comfortable paying for, you'll want to make sure that you understand this, of course, because a condo that's listed at X versus a single family home that's listed at that same price X, certainly the financials are going to be a little bit different based on the condo fees and everything else that entails. So typically we see condo fees being paid on a monthly basis. There are some communities where that could be different, or there might be a monthly and then also maybe a quarterly, a separate fee. So you'll just want to make sure you understand what your particular community is offering and what that schedule looks like. Also, as part of understanding the overall financial picture for you specifically, you'll also want to take a deeper look at the financial picture for the overall community. So they'll have that information available, their financials. That's part of the documents that you should be provided as a prospective buyer. Just ask your agent, or if they don't have it for whatever reason, if maybe the seller didn't provide that information, you or your agent can certainly contact the HOA directly, and they should be able to provide that information so you get a really good transparent look at the overall financial health, if you will, of the community. Now, if they're in a really good position financially, then that should give you additional comfort as a buyer, knowing that if and when bigger projects around the community come up, the association should comfortably be able to handle those big projects that come up. Now, if the community is struggling financially or there's some concerns, and that could also be a bit of a red flag for you as the buyer, because if and when a big repair or big project comes up, they're likely going to be collecting from each individual owner as a special assessment. So we'll talk about that more in a little bit, but special assessments, definitely something you'll want to keep an eye on as well. So the lender, if you are financing, will also want a copy of those financials so they can look through that information and make a good decision on if they are willing to approve you and provide a loan for that particular community. Again, if there are some red flags with the community, they'll want to hash those out, get a better understanding of what's going on, and not put themselves at too much of a risk by lending. So you can talk through that with your lender and see, because some of them will approve a certain condo community, some won't. So again, as you're going through the search process, you'll just want to know, of course, before you go too far down the line, if your lender will even be able to finance or is willing to finance in that particular community. Also, there could be some differences with down payment requirements. So for example, you might be able to put 5% down, for example, for your particular loan product for maybe a single family home, but for a condo and for a particular community, maybe that has to be at least 10% down. So again, you'll just want to make sure that you have a good line of communication with your lender and be able to provide them with any information, and they'll do their due diligence, of course, and you as the buyer, will do your part in making sure that you are aware of all the financials. Now back to the special assessment. So those typically come up in addition to the monthly condo fees, that if a big repair, like the community's undergoing, a big exterior renovation, painting, or even something as big as like a roof, for example, then you may be paying a special assessment for a period of time so the association can recoup enough funds and make sure they are able to pay for that particular repair or project and still have enough in their reserves for when other things come up over time. So as you look at each property and community, in addition to seeing what that monthly fee is, also just do some due diligence on if there are any current special assessments in place, if maybe the seller is going to pay that off prior to closing, or if you as the buyer will still be paying on that afterwards. So that's something that you and your agent can discuss and potentially negotiate. Or if there's no special assessments on the horizon, then you'll want to also just check with the HOA and see if maybe there is anything maybe not currently in place, but in the near future that they see will come up, just so you're not surprised, say 6 months down the line, that everything's going smooth, you buy and you're making your regular payments, and then all of a sudden a big special assessment comes up. So definitely some piece of information you'll want to gather, whether it's from the listing agent providing that information to your buyer agent and then them relaying that to you, or if you need to be connected directly with the HOA to ask some additional questions, that's always a great option. But the seller should also be providing different HOA documents, seller's disclosures, and then the HOA financials as well. So you can get a really good picture before you go too far down the path. One thing I'll also mention relating to big repairs, you may hear the term milestone inspections put out. So there were, of course, condo laws that have been put in place for the last couple years to ensure that the safety and security and overall the structural integrity of these buildings and the communities are sound. So some associations and some communities have undergone big repairs and renovations because of these milestone inspections that have been done to protect buyers and residents. So also something worth asking if that community had any milestone inspections completed and what the results were from that, and if anything came out of that. So a couple different pieces of information to be aware of, and definitely the overall financial picture will be really important to have a good understanding of before you move too far forward in the process. Second item that we'll discuss relates to the restrictions. So there are two in particular that I'm referring to for this section. So by buying and investing into a condo community, you also need to adhere by certain rules and regulations for that particular community. So those similar to some of the items we discussed earlier with condo fees and assessments and some of those type things, those also will be spelled out in the condo documents that you'll have access to, and you can read through all those if you have any questions on those, because certainly it's a lot of information depending on the community. I mean, some could be 100 pages long. So if you have any questions on any of that information, reach out to your agent, reach out to the HOA directly, or if you even have further or more serious questions, you could even reach out to an attorney as well if you feel so inclined. So the first restriction that I'll mention relates to lease restrictions. So you might be thinking, well, I'm living in the property, I'm not an investor looking to rent out the property. That's fine, and I totally get that. I would still recommend you at least have an understanding of the lease restrictions so that you know in case something does change, where maybe you're living there for a little bit and now you have to move, and maybe you don't want to sell yet, you want to explore renting out the property for a bit. Things happen, things change, so you'll at least want to be aware of what those restrictions look like, because again, depending on if you're in a single family home or some other property type, it could be a lot different here in a condo community. So for example, I know some communities where you have to own your unit for at least 2 years prior to being able to rent it out. So that's definitely important information that you'll want to know, and certainly won't want any surprises if you were planning on maybe buying from out of market and you were just going to rent it out for a year or two before you actually move down. That option in this scenario would not be possible for you. So definitely wouldn't want you to see yourself in that position. Also relating to the lease restrictions, there could be a minimum length where you can lease it out. So if you think maybe you want to just do some short-term type rentals, that very well may not be allowed in that particular condo community. So perhaps there's a restriction in place that you need to rent it out for a term of at least 12 months. So again, that's important information for you to consider. Again, whether you're a primary buyer or maybe a seasonal buyer or even an investor, you'll definitely want to understand what the overall lease restrictions are. Also, some communities have restrictions on how many units can be rented out because they don't want the whole building, of course, being rented out. So there could be some different caps in place. So you'll want to know that as well. And then the second restriction that I'll highlight and point out relates to pet restrictions. So that's also something on the front end. Of course, you'll want to know what the HOA allows in terms of pets. So if it's, a maximum number of 2 pets, for example, and if there are 2 dogs, there's, certain breeds that they can or can't be, and certain weights that they have to fall in. So you'll definitely want to make sure, depending on what your pet situation is, that there's no issues as you go further into the process, and don't want any surprises or anything to, derail your transaction late in the game, or even buy and for some reason not be aware of the pet restrictions and have some trouble there. So definitely want to make sure that you are aware of everything. Again, these items will be spelled out in the condo documents, and usually when you buy and go under contract, once you go through the due diligence, the inspections, and the HOA applications, that information should be spelled out. But even before then, it's always good just to be proactive and obviously know what the restrictions are, and then be able to ask questions before you get too far into the process, just to make sure it's a good fit. Or if it's not, you can move on to a different community and you'll be well on your way. So all these things, again, spelled out in the condo documents. So very important to read through those, and then again, ask your agent questions, the HOA directly, or even an attorney if you need to. Third item and final item we'll discuss for this video is the importance of working with the best professionals in the condo market specifically. Now, there are a lot of realtors in the greater Tampa Bay area. There's also a big gap with experience levels and also skill levels. So just because someone's a realtor doesn't necessarily mean they're the best fit to help you as you're going through the buying process for a Tampa condo. Just because someone's experienced, that doesn't even always translate into them being the best for you for the condo market in particular. As we talked about earlier with the financials and with lease restrictions, those are just two items, but there are a lot of different nuances with the condo market in particular. So by working with the best possible professionals, starting with a great realtor, that could really help you in a lot of ways, but it definitely will help you with eliminating some of the hassles and minimizing some of the stresses and the confusion, and helping you really save time throughout the process and help you reach the best possible outcome, whatever that may be for you. So really, really important to work with the best possible professional who is very skilled and savvy in this particular niche of condos. So you really want to make sure you start with that, and then also by connecting and working with a great realtor on the buyer side or even the seller side. If you happen to come across this video as a potential seller, it'll be really important to connect with the best possible professional in the condo market. And as anyone who's gone through a real estate purchase or sale or has just been around real estate knows, there are a lot of moving parts. So also having a great lender in place who understands the nuances of the condo market. As we discussed earlier with the financials, there are some differences, and they have their own processes and checklists that they have to go through for condos in particular to make sure they can approve you and lend in that particular community. So if they're not very experienced in the condo market, then that could pose some potential hassles for you and for all of us in this transaction and in this process. Also, a great agent can connect you with other professionals, like a great inspector or great insurance professional or contractor, all of them who have experience with condos in particular, that will best be able to help you with your particular situation and with your particular needs. So I started off my career here in Tampa real estate working with a variety of different property types, a variety of different buyers, sellers, investors, different areas all around Tampa. So I totally understand all the differences firsthand of working and representing buyers, sellers, and investors with single family homes, condos, townhomes, villas, you name it. So there are definitely a lot of nuances in the condo market, and I can assure you, working with myself and the best possible professionals around the condo market, you will definitely have the best overall experience and enjoy the best possible process and outcome. So I'm very excited to help you in any way I can. Just let me know if you have any questions. We can talk about your particular situation in further detail. Always appreciate it. All right, that'll do it for today's video as we detailed why you should not buy a condo unless you knew 3 things in particular. I hope you enjoyed and got some great value from today's video. Let me know in comments if you have any questions, comments, or feedback. Whether you're looking to buy or sell in 10 days or 10 weeks, please reach out. All of my contact information is in the description box below. I would love to help you win in the Tampa luxury condo market. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, talk to you soon.